I'm Ginny, and I'm a research analyst at the Wharton AI and Analytics Initiative. And today we're going to be talking about how to create data dashboards in R using Quarto. For the next 10 minutes, I'll be walking you through some steps to create interactive dashboards in R using Quarto. Data dashboards hardly need introduction. They're a common tool used in many business settings to show trends, track progress on key metrics, share analytic results, and more. If you want to make dashboards that are clear, compelling, and easily integrate analyses and visualizations directly in R, you've come to the right place. In this workshop, we'll discuss some practical steps for creating data dashboards in R. I'll first go over some guiding dashboard principles, secondly show how to set up a Quarto dashboard markdown document, next show how to create an informational text page, and then show how to provide information and descriptive statistics for data in different dashboard panels, and lastly we'll show a brief analysis for a hypothetical business use case. I'll also include some quick bonus content showing how to make a simple PowerPoint presentation in R using Quarto as well. For this use case, I'll be using a subset of data from a simulated grocery store dataset created by WAI Senior Data Scientist Dr. Russ Walters and Senior Fellow Dr. Eric Eisenstein. As an example, I'm going to have the hypothetical business goal of better understanding product sales and customer diets for an internal audience at a fictional grocery store. Regarding our first step, before coding a thing, there are a couple of guiding principles that I'm going to be taking into account when creating this dashboard. The first is that the dashboard should target a specific business need. It can be helpful to frequently incorporate stakeholder feedback to make sure the dashboard prioritizes information in a way that aligns with its goals. Next, the dashboard should balance simplicity with providing sufficient context. Its details, such as data quality and pre-processing steps, should be transparent while also not overwhelming viewers. Extra detail can always be included in captions or appendices. Third, in addition to speaking to business needs, the dashboard design should be geared towards audience understanding. While this can be project-specific, some considerations can be helpful in general, such as making sure information is indexed following natural tendencies like having greater values visually further up or further to the right in plots, and making sure information is accessible, for example, by using colorblind-friendly palettes and legible fonts. Lastly, it's crucial to follow data visualization principles when creating dashboards. Plot axes, titles, and takeaways should be immediately clear, and things like color palettes and group labels should be consistent across the entire project. For step 2, creating a dashboard in Quarto is pretty straightforward. You first open a .qmd document in RStudio and next enter dashboard as the desired output. You can customize your dashboard, for example, by choosing a preset theme from the options on Quarto's dashboard theming website, adding logos, and choosing navigation buttons at the very top of the script. Similar to an R Markdown document, you can also set fonts for the entire dashboard there. I've included software references for all of the R packages used during this workshop on the last tab. I personally like to set my color palettes and read in data at the top of the document beneath the setup chunks, and I make sure this doesn't create any output or messages by setting output and messages to false. For step 3, when creating the first dashboard tab we were just looking at with primarily informational text, I created each panel using cards and filled in their titles and content. Cards like these can also contain images, plots, maps, or other information, as we will see. You can see again that the format is pretty similar to our Markdown formatting. We define each tab in the column using 1 hashtag, each row of items within the tab using 2 hashtags, and each column within that row using 3 hashtags, with the width and height defined in curly brackets denoting each chunk. Chunks without width and height defined will automatically split the remaining space. Each code chunk's label is the internal label that will denote that unique chunk in the script. For step 4, speaking of the data, this seems like a good point to show a quick overview of what we'll be working with here. We have a grocery purchase dataset for a fictional store with customers' 6-month spend across 13 purchase categories such as dairy, fruit, and vegetables. We also have demographic data and information on how many visits these same 1,381 fictional customers made to the store over a 6-month period. To create this data page, I made value boxes by setting the content type for each chunk to value box, showing the number of purchase categories, customers' mean 6-month spend, the total number of shoppers at the store, and the number of weeks we have store information, with icons chosen from the Bootstrap Icons website associated with the BS Icons package. I added additional information on each dataset in 2 half-page text columns and added tables with the first 5 rows from each dataset to show their structures. Looking at grocery purchasing patterns, we can see the distribution of total 6-month spend and the mean spend for each category of groceries at the store. We can also see how customer demographics, such as income level, gender, age group, or education level, might be directionally related with the shopper's 6-month spend. This type of information might be useful context for folks trying to understand customers' spend patterns in line with the business need we're trying to address here. I added the descriptive statistics table for spend in each category and then added cards to show grocery spend plots in curly brackets above the row or column where you'd like to have multiple tabs for plots. The names of each tab then appear in the title for each code chunk. I followed similar steps but with a slightly different overall layout to create the customer data overview page as well. Looking at the customer data, we can again create a descriptive table to summarize the mean or percentage of shoppers within each demographic category. We can also visually see how many shoppers in our dataset fall into each category. You'll notice that these plots have clear axes and titles, and that these consistent labels and color schemes match the grocery purchase plots, relating back to some of our key dashboard principles. For step 5, the last page I'll show includes clustering of customers into diets based on their personal spend per grocery category. I've displayed results of this k-means clustering into a cluster plot. I also included a heat map showing how much shoppers in each cluster tend to spend on each grocery category, and added a table showing the proportion of customer demographics in each cluster for interpretation, and added a brief write-up of cluster details. Lastly, I summarized key takeaways we've seen so far when it comes to better understanding customer diets at the grocery store. This is the sort of analysis that might characterize typical customer diets and their popularity among shoppers, and perhaps show what shoppers might be looking for when it comes to product offerings to address our business question. This is just an example of the sort of analysis that might be done to address this. In this section, I've included a hidden analysis code chunk that can be used to feed into the visual plots here. This page has a bit more variation in elements than with the ones we've seen so far, such as a mix of text cards and plots, and has a bit more complex setup in terms of how the page is divided up, but overall it uses the same fundamental steps to achieve this as the pages we've seen so far. As a bonus, I'll briefly show how to create a PowerPoint presentation using Quarto as well. I'm using some of the same material from the dashboard in a basic PowerPoint created directly in Quarto, which easily integrates our analyses and visualizations. The setup is pretty similar to the dashboard. You first open a .qmd document in RStudio and set the output format to PowerPoint or PPTX. Each new section is defined by a single hashtag, which creates a slide on its own with the section title. Each slide title is defined with 2 hashtags with the slide content beneath them, and presenter notes are created by writing .notes inside curly brackets to create a code chunk. A slide with multiple columns is created by writing .columns inside curly brackets within the slide, and then .column filled in with the desired content for each distinct column in each slide. Analysis and visualization slides are created by defining our code chunks set to display the output of each chunk as you'd like within the slide. Plots can also go within columns on a slide. Check out the Quarto website with more information on creating PowerPoints. So to wrap up, we learned in this workshop how to create a basic interactive dashboard in R using Quarto. We learned principles for creating valuable dashboards, discussed how to create several dashboard components, and showed how these might look in action using a hypothetical example of grocery store sales. We also touched briefly on how to make PowerPoints with Quarto as an alternative deliverable. The nice thing about Quarto that's a bit unique is that it is pretty flexible and allows for very customizable dashboards and other outputs. More advanced dashboards might incorporate Python code and R-Shiny components, for example. Another advanced topic we did not get into today is dashboard deployment options. This is often specific to the use case, and if you're interested in this or other advanced topics, I've included a few resources to explore. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you learned something today about how to create data dashboards in R to display any kind of data or visualization that you might be interested in sharing. We recommend checking out our other educational content on our website, which is linked in the video description.